is KARE 11 News at 10.
Well, the kitchen may be the heart of the home, but it's also a dangerous place to be. 40% of all Minnesota house fires start at the stove. Good evening. It takes just a split second for this kind of fire to take over an entire room. Tonight, from 10 different vantage points, the right and wrong ways to put down the flames, and how this little gadget could be a lifesaver. KARE 11's Boyd Hoopert has the extra.
I vividly remember getting the phone call. Very difficult. That's my mother.
Fire has a face in Minnesota. And heartbreak has a name.
Willa Mae she was something else.
Willie Mae Coleman is the face of what can happen when a fire starts in a kitchen.
She had been burnt over 70% of her body.
Don Coleman lost his mother last summer at the age of 75 from burns she received in her St. Paul apartment while standing at the stove frying chicken. He was with her at Regions Hospital when she died.
I remember what she smelled like. I remember what she looked like. And that's no vision that any child wants to remember of their parent.
Kitchen fires happen every day in Minnesota. Cooking is the leading cause of the state's residential fires, more than heating, candles, smoking, and arson combined. With that statistic in mind, we enlisted the help of the volunteer fire departments in Green Isle and Arlington, borrowed a house slated for demolition, and sought the expertise of one of Minnesota's most respected fire investigators.
We're putting a cup of oil in here.
Jamie Novak of the St. Paul Fire Department.
I've seen it morning, I've seen it late night, I've seen it after the bars close. Somebody comes home and decides they got the munchies for French fries.
Cooking oil does us a favor. It smokes to give us a warning as it approaches its ignition point at roughly 750 degrees.
Number one problem people think is they have a grease fire like this is I'll just grab it and I'll run it over to the sink.
That's exactly what Willie Mae Coleman did, according to fire investigators, and in moving that pan, set her clothes on fire. First responders found her burned and suffering on the floor. Her frying pan somehow wound up in the living room, flung perhaps, as she fell.
It's an instinctive thing to grab that pot.
Now, pay attention. This is important.
So all you need to do is on a fire like this, grab an oven mitt and a tight-fitting cover, and just grab it, slide it right over the side, and turn the stove off. And leave it for 10 to 20 minutes, because if you don't, what happens is you take that cover off, and it starts right up again.
No cover close by? Grab a cookie sheet or pizza pan.
Slide it across.
Hold it down, turn off the stove, and know you've avoided an even bigger mistake.
Drinking water.
That's plain water Jamie Novak is pouring into that small cup. Willie Mae Coleman never made it to the sink with that burning pan of grease. But when firefighters arrived, the water was still running.
Everybody ready?
And as you're about to see, water
1,
is the worst choice
2,
you can make.
3.
1 cup of water poured into 1 cup of burning oil.
If you were right up there right now, we'd be taking you to the hospital because you would have caught your clothes on fire. You would have had 2nd and 3rd degree burns.
Same fire from the back of the room.
1 cup of water turns into 1,700 cups of steam and blows all this oil out at once.
Enough heat and flames reached the kitchen's back wall to burn the curtains off the windows.
That's why people need to know you never, ever, ever put water on a grease fire.
It's also why this tiny canister could be a lifesaver in your home.
This is a stovetop fire stop extinguisher. You mount one over these 2 burners, and you mount one over these 2 burners.
The canisters are filled with a fire extinguishing powder. Do they work? Just keep an eye on that fuse.
Here we go.
Now, again, farther back.
Here we go.
That quickly, the grease fire is out.
Popped, dropped the dry chemical, and now you as a homeowner are supposed to come in and shut the stove off.
Shutting off the stove removes any possibility the fire could reignite.
And it blew these pedals.
You may wonder why such a simple and seemingly effective device isn't found in more homes. The White Bear Lake Fire Department wondered that too, then did something about it. With the help of federal grants,
Thank you.
firefighters have installed a $50 pair of fire stops free of charge in nearly 3,000 residential kitchens.
We installed these for anybody that qualifies with this type of range hood.
In fact, White Bear Lake now requires fire stops in unsprinkled rental properties.
Completely forgot that I had the stove turned on yet.
Chuck Schmidt credits this now spent fire stop for saving his apartment after he left for a church service with a pot still on the stove.
It was amazing, I tell you.
His is one of 5 fire stop saves since White Bear Lake began installations.
That oil heats up.
5 fires that didn't get to this point.
The cabinets have caught on fire and the fire's spreading out. That's when you get everybody out, you call 911, and you let the fire department fight the fire. Go ahead, put her out. So we're talking probably minimum $10,000 fire. All that could have been extinguished by a $50, $60 extinguisher that would have put it out even if you weren't in the room.
I wish we had had it in this case.
Damage to a kitchen can be repaired. But there is no fixing the lingering regrets of a life lost.
I was there for her for a lot of things. I helped my mother. I wasn't there at the end. I didn't get to say goodbye while she was conscious. And that will always bother me.
We know that some of you may have additional questions about some of the things you saw in that video or maybe didn't see. Jamie Novak has been good enough to join us tonight at St. Paul Fire Station number 1. He's now connected to the KARE 11 Facebook page, KARE 11 News Facebook page. He's here. We'll stay here for the next hour or so to answer your questions. We also want to tell you about a special event. Governor Mark Dayton, as part of this project, has declared next Saturday Kitchen Fire Safety Awareness Day in the state of Minnesota. On Saturday from 11 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon, right here at Fire Station number 1 on West 7th Street, you're invited to an open house with all kinds of fire safety demonstrations and tours. And finally, we want to mention, again, those stovetop fire stops that we talked about in the story. This model, this small model, is one with a magnet on it. It's designed to hang beneath a metal kitchen range hood. But there's also a model that's designed for use under a microwave oven. Julie, we're going to send it back to you in the studio. I know you have some more information for folks about that.
Boyd, I tell you what, I've always heard don't put water on a grease fire, but I really learned a lot from your story tonight. That's amazing how fast and how furious it ignites that fire. Wonderful piece.
Thank you. You know, you wonder what you'll do, you know, at that moment when that sort of thing takes place, if you'll panic or not. But I know myself, after seeing the video, what I saw in that house that day, I'll never, ever put water on a grease fire.
Thanks so much, Boyd. Great story, and more's coming up tomorrow night as well. KARE 11 and all 11 Lowe's stores in Minnesota are teaming up to offer these fire stops at a special price, $32 a pair. Just go to the commercial sales desk and they will order them for you. Again, that's at Lowe's. And as I mentioned, Boyd's series continues tomorrow night.